Man. Okay, if it was my money, Porsche RS comparison, we have a 2019 911 GT3 RS, that's the 991.2 generation, against a 2024 718 Spyder RS, essentially the top of the food chain of the 991 and of the 718 Spyder. And they also have very similar market value. 991.2 GT3 RS around 200 to 250K. And while the 718 technically has a starting MSRP around $168,000, when you add options like the Weissach package or just, I mean, on the market with the markups and such, that also goes a little bit over $200,000. So let's say you have a little bit over 200K and you want an RS Porsche. Which one should you go for? With the GT3 RS, we're powered by a naturally aspirated flat 6, it's a 4-liter, making 520 horsepower, 346 pound-feet of torque, made it to a 7-speed PDK. We've got strut front, multi-link rear, fully adjustable alignment, adjustable ride height, and we have rear steer standard with the 1.2 RS. This weighs in right around 3,200 pounds because it's not the Weissach. I think the Weissach is like 3,150, and this is actually wider than the GT3. You got the turbo wide hips. We've got these NACA ducts for brake cooling, the RS specific splitter and side skirts, the big carbon rear wing, carbon hood and rear deck lid, magnesium roof, flat underbody, and vented carbon fiber fenders. These things are just so sick. And with all these aero bits, the 1.2 GT3 RS has twice the level of downforce at 125 miles an hour compared to the regular GT3. We've got ball joints on all suspension links, front and rear helper springs, lightweight glass for the rear and side panel windows, recalibrated LSD and steering, and door pull straps. This is actually the first GT3 RS to go sub 7 minutes on the Nürburgring. This is a 6:56.4, and it beat even the 918 Spyder by 0.6 of a second. What a monster. As far as options, we have Porsche carbon ceramic brakes, as you can tell with the yellow calipers. We have the OEM wheels, but they're finished in Weissach Gold, that's the white gold. We also have the gold stripes, which he has matched with the interior. The Porsche carbon buckets that have these custom inserts with the gold stripe there too. Very Singer inspired, even's got the rivet. He's got these magnetic paddles that are from the 992 Weissach and super crisp magnetic actuation. And even the shifter itself is from a GT4 RS, both the shift lever and the boot. It's not the older style, it's the newer style, which I think looks really sharp. Oh. Unfortunately, it is a wetter day out here, and it just started raining. Woo-hoo. What a lot of people don't realize is that actually when it first starts raining is the most dangerous time to drive. Let's get that front lift. Okay, front lift is activated. It's the most dangerous time when it first starts raining because the road hasn't been washed away of debris and all that junk and nastiness and the oils and such. So it's extra slippery when it first starts raining. We're gonna go extra slow and careful today, especially with Cup 2s. We have 265 in the front, 315 in the rear, massive tire width. And with that massive tire width, I was expecting that the steering wouldn't be quite as sharp. Because normally with wider section width, it numbs and dulls the steering response. You get a bit of tram lining, but it's actually really good. They've recalibrated the steering here. One of the best E-Pass units for sure. Suspension, you may be expecting with the RS, after all, this is more track focused. It's like the most track focused street vehicle you can get, right? It's not a cup car, it's not a radical PDK Sport. And without PASM engaged right now, it's not too punishing at all. It's actually quite reasonable. This revs out all the way to 9 grand, and boy, does it sound magnificent. Cup 2s definitely don't like the rain. Gotta go real slow on these corners. I was expecting this car to be punishing because of that RS badge, because of its track-focused nature, and because it is so track-focused, that's why they only give you a PDK. This car, unlike the GT3, which you can get in manual, this is about setting fast lap times. Oh, dude, the steering is so delicate, such a sharp front end, and such good feel, too. I'm really impressed for an E-Pass. But because they're going for lap times here, it's PDK only. Let's give you guys a pull. Getting some hop there. Traction limited in the wet. My God. I also love how these paddles feel, just so crisp and immediate. It's like a sim rig. If you guys have used magnetic shifters on those. And the shifts here are so fast. They're almost as sharp. I feel like it's just a hair off from the 718, the Cayman GT4 RS. When you're driving it more spiritedly and you shift, the transmission will shift gears before you actually depress the paddle. So as you press it in, it shifts, and then before you can return it to neutral, it's already in the next gear. Really incredible stuff, and each time it's so perfect. It's so... You can hear the gear change, but you can't actually feel anything in your back. It's just so smooth and perfectly rev meshed every single time with no gap in the torque. Let's try PASM on. You can feel a bit more of that high frequency, but I'm really surprised that the suspension is not too punishing. Yeah, surprisingly comfortable on a bumpy road like this. Now the Cayman GT4 RS, that one felt too stiffly sprung for this road. This actually has a great balance. Very high quality damping. Absorbing those bumps without upsetting the vehicle, yet still maintaining that rigidity and stiffness through the suspension components such that you get such a great level of feedback through the chassis and the steering wheel. Even the brakes themselves have this firm, modern Porsche feel with great feedback. Guys, I know it's a tease to not be pushing this car as hard because of the conditions, and trust me, I'm feeling it too. We're gonna get this to sing all the way to 9K in just a moment. The owner actually also owns the Boxster Dundon that we reviewed on the channel. Compared that against the 458 Spyder, and he did a lot of modifications there, but here he's like, guys, the car is just so good, I don't have to do much. Kept it quite close to stock, and these little things he added, like the shifter and the magnetic paddles, it makes an already amazing car so close to perfect. Very sharp front end with the 991 generation. 991 is actually my favorite because you still retain that rear engine feel and fun without it getting a little bit too like mid-engine feeling, or I guess neutralizing it out like in the 992. And here you have rear steer as well, so at lower speeds it's going to help you make the car feel more agile, and at higher speeds it turns in the same direction to give you a simulated longer wheelbase. And alright, you guys wanted that 9K, here's the 9K. God damn, dude. That engine though. of mid-range torque, but it's overall so linear and it encourages you to push it out. It's rewarding, not just from the level of acceleration, but also the sound, the character, as it changes from 7K to 8K to 9K. It's musical. My God, what an incredible vehicle. What an incredible vehicle. But now let's see how she compares to the 718 Spyder RS. 2024 718 Spyder RS were also powered by a 4-liter flat-6 naturally aspirated, making 493 horsepower, 331 pound-feet of torque, made it to a 7-speed PDK. Same engine as the 992.1 GT3. The reason it makes 5 to 10 less horsepower is because it's mid-engine, not rear engine, a little bit more distance to cover for the exhaust. Also weighs right around 3,200 pounds, same as the 1.2 GT3 RS. Now, compared to the GT4 RS, this has retuned springs, which are softer by 55% in the front, 43% in the rear, sway bars and adaptive dampers, retuned steering as well for it to feel a little bit less darty compared to that 4 RS, less aggressive front splitter, a ducktail spoiler instead of the swan neck of the 4 RS, no underbody guiding vanes, and it gives approximately 0 lift instead of adding downforce. Now, compared to a 718 Spyder, the level right below the RS, we have carbon hood, carbon intakes, a manual roof, and it's actually quite a process to take this thing up and down. Of course, we're just leaving it up today. This one also comes with the Weissach package, and the previous one that we reviewed on this channel did not. That gives you extra lightweight carbon fiber bits and goodies, including titanium exhaust tips, and I believe you need the Weissach to also be able to option the magnesium wheels, which is a separate option, but I think you need the Weissach, but correct me if I'm wrong with a comment down below. MSRP is $168,000, but this one as spec'd is over 200K. As you can see, we've got the Porsche carbon ceramic brakes with the yellow calipers. We've got that Weissach package, which is $12.5 grand. We've got magnesium wheels, which is a $15.5 grand option. And again, the PCCBs are another 8K. This color is vanadium gray exterior, which is the launch color, the hero color of the car. I think it's very sharp. And the only mod is an aftermarket JCR silenced mid-pipe. It's a little bit louder than stock. We've got the intakes right here for that incredible induction note. It's not in the cabin with you like in the GT4 RS, but even right here, there's just cloth, a very thin piece of cloth right here. So you're still gonna get a lot of audio. Now, very interesting, the owner got these 18-way adjustable. There's so many different things you can adjust here, and did not go with the carbon buckets. Most people go for the carbon buckets. So rare to see this. And we also got these numeric pedals, which are a little bit larger than the OEM. And the nice thing about these 18-way adjustables is that, like, look at this thigh rest. If you have longer legs like me, I'm 6'1", then you can really get that thigh support that you want. Carbon fiber paddles here. And you can see here the shift lever and the boot look pretty similar to the 1.2 RS. We'll turn on Porsche Sport Exhaust, set this into drive, PDK Sport. Now we're on Dunlops, which are better suited for the wet than those Cup 2s, but still not optimal. First impressions with the steering, it's actually quite a bit lighter for the first 5 or 10 degrees off center. Damn, that thing sounds so good even back here. So it's a little bit lighter, and then as you turn more, it loads up. I actually prefer the steering in the 1.2 RS, although here you do get a bit more feedback through the wheel than in that car. It's just that it feels more natural with the weighting right around center. Oh! Incredibly sharp PDK. Feels ever so slightly softer. Actually, I'm not sure. There are certain bumps where it feels a little bit softer, and then other bumps where it feels a little bit stiffer than the 1.2 RS. Depending depending on the size and the magnitude. I can feel more lower frequency, smaller bumps here, and slightly more lateral head motion. But they're both just damped so well. You gotta remember that the Spyder RS, Perninger himself said they wanted to optimize this for street, not for track. So it is much more comfortable than the 4 RS. But both this and the 1.2 RS, they're both great for a bumpy road like this, for a canyon road. They're not too stiff. You would imagine that, especially that would be too stiff for the canyons because it's so track focused. Let's do the same. Got that very similar modern Porsche braking feel. Such firmness at the initial brake travel. Very nice, easy to modulate, very firm, confidence inspiring. I'd say it's even slightly more firm than the 1.2 RS. On some of these upshifts, I feel like it's even quicker than the 1.2 RS. Let's get PASM engaged just to see how it feels. Buddy, stay in the lane. I'm sure that it would be great on a smoother road, but just too stiff here. Yeah, see, it wants to wiggle right there. Feels a little bit more on its toes. I mean, both its willingness to rotate back there on power, but also some of the bumps seem to be upsetting this a little bit more than the RS. Both have this incredible immediacy to the steering, to the feedback. Every bump, every little texture you can feel. There's that stiffness to the chassis, to the bushings. But the 1.2 RS feels just ever so slightly more sophisticated on that front. Here, I keep looking down to make sure I don't have PASM engaged. And there's a slight harshness here. It's very subtle. I mean, both are so well damped, have such amazing suspension. But I'd give the edge to that 1.2 RS. Here you're getting much more induction note. Over there you're getting more exhaust. Oh my God, what a day, guys. I just wish it was dry. You've also got to love how small and focused Porsche keeps the steering wheels. There's no buttons, nothing else for you to do here. You just drive. You just use the steering wheel as the steering wheel. They have this nice thickness, this intermediate thickness to them. The paddles here with the carbon fiber bits added to the main part, I actually prefer without the carbon fiber, because that actuation gets just a little bit less crisp. At least it feels that way compared to the 1.2. Those are magnetic aftermarket paddles. I get it, guys. I am also a manual diehard, but in both of these vehicles, I don't think that the PDK is holding it back. It is a joy to use, and especially if you have another car in the garage that is manual. I mean, there's no harm. You get such immediacy, such perfect shifts every time. Incredibly engaging. Allows you to play with that engine as a musical note. The owner of the 1.2 RS has a manual Dundon modified Boxster at home as well. So he's got the manual, he's got the PDK. It's a great way to do it. Let's give you a pull. It's short shifting in first, both on this and the other car, because I'm more slowly getting to the throttle, so then the PDK shift logic is going to short shift it if you're not full throttle like that. Man. Okay, if it was my money, God, this is hard. They're both such incredible cars. I think I gotta say the 1.2 RS speaks to me more. It's the car that if I had 250K to burn on a car, I'd go with that. It feels so special. You have that rear engine nature. I mean, if you want the top down and you have good weather, I understand the appeal of something like this too. They're both just so good. They're giving you a lot of that similar flavor of that modern Porsche sharpness with the RS products. But the suspension there is a little bit more sophisticated. The steering is just a little bit more natural. Both of them have this immediacy to the front and to the chassis feedback. Both of them have these very purposeful interiors. I like the 5 gauges of the 991.2 GT3 RS a little bit more, but I mean, I'm just splitting hairs here. They're both amazing, incredible vehicles. Both of these feel so sharp and so incredible, but the 1.2 GT3 RS has this little extra X factor that speaks to me in a way. It emotionally does something a bit more than what this does. We'll cover that in more detail next time the roads are dry and we drive these again. Both owners have such amazing taste. Big thanks to James, big thanks to Steven, big thanks to Fenton from the Zygreen YouTube channel for making this review possible. My friends, if you want your car reviewed, visit us on jabalandcars.com, fill out the form on the homepage, and I'll see you all in that next one.